Hello, my name is Susanne Clark. I'd like to welcome you to our Valley Folk Art program at Colorado Rocky Mountain School. Our Navajo weaving class here has been taught for many years by Angie Walker Maloney. Angie Maloney put herself through college and graduate school with her weaving. Her pieces have been exhibited in many museums and are in permanent collections, including the Smithsonian and Kennedy collection. Angie is very interested in preserving and documenting the techniques that have been passed on from generation to generation within her family. When she sits down at her loom, her designs come from within. She takes time to let the design develop and has encouraged those of us who study with her to approach design differently, to stop and look and see what we are doing and not get locked into a predetermined design.
Good morning. My name is Angie Walker Maloney, and I'm from Tuba City, Arizona, and I'm Navajo. I started weaving when I was 5 years old, and learned to from my mother, who's I think one of the greatest weavers around. And I used to sit by her when I was a little girl, and that's how I picked up a lot of the techniques that I'll be showing you in the class. And just by observing her and her later teaching me how to do a lot of the things that I've learned from her, and passing it on to my children, and will be passing it on to my grandchildren. This is one done by my 23-year-old daughter, and her name is Marshall Rose Tohani Heath. This one is done by my 17-year-old daughter. They both started weaving when they were about 6 or 7 years old. Her name is Lisa Marie Maloney. Our philosophy of weaving is that my great-grandmother and my great-great-grandmother and my grandmother, my mother, have all raised their families, and it was a source of income for the family in doing rug weaving and trading at the trading post. And that was a main source of income for our families, generation after generation, and that's how we kept it in the family. And we utilize a lot of the wool that are bought from the store, processed, because it's just a lot more easier, and you get the colors that you need, because when you shear the wool and prepare everything, to me that takes away from the weaving time for me. And although I learned how to do the preparation, the sheep shearing, and the preparation, the dyeing, and the whole process of getting ready to weave a rug, that I don't do that anymore because I'm really busy. I have a job at an Indian Health Service from 8 to 5, and I'm on the road a lot, and I usually have the usually use the store-bought yarn, and sometimes if it's a special request, then I do all the yarn myself. If it's on special order. I go around teaching weaving with my sister. My sister helps me a lot. Her name's May Pashlakai. She started the family off with getting blue ribbons. She's been weaving since she was about 5 years old also, and she's also a silversmith. And my mother I owe a lot to, because of her teaching weaving to all of the girls in our family, and the grandchildren. There's a lot of techniques out there. That different families keep in the family. They weave in the family, and they don't share with other family groups. So there's a lot of different techniques, and every one of them are correct if it works for them. You know, my mother tells me, you know, a little bit at the time when we're concentrating on a weaving or something, and then she would tell her stories about Spider Women and how they had a hand in teaching of their teachings into the weaving. It takes a lot of patience, and that's one of the teachings from Spider Women. It takes a lot of patience to get to make a rug into something beautiful. Even with our own members of our tribe, the young people, I think there's a fear of losing the art of weaving, and I hate to see that happen. And so anybody that's willing to learn, I'm willing to teach, so that the process will be documented.
Susanne Clark was an art major, fashion and interior designer, and spent many years raising a large family. In 1992, she stumbled into a Navajo weaving class being taught by Angie Maloney, and it has taken over her life. She enjoys working within the traditional Navajo technique. However, her emphasis has been on finding a way to express her own culture by creating designs that are her own. Susanne is an ongoing student of Angie's and is very grateful to Angie for her willingness to share the traditional techniques. Over the years, they have learned a lot from each other by sharing and weaving together.
Here I'm just going to show you the basic frame. Here's the frame of the loom here, and the middle part is where the prepared warp is attached to it, and then the turnbuckles right here.
For tension.
For tension.
Now, how does this loom differ from a wooden loom or the original early looms? Is there any difference in theory?
Well, this is very portable, and we've been working on this for 6 years, and with a lot of improvements. It's made out of metal piping, heavy-duty metal piping, as opposed to the wooden frame. And over here, I'm gonna show you the components. This one with the rug on the frame. We have the frame itself right here, and then the dowel, the bottom dowel, attached to the warp here, and then the upper one. And right here we have the pull shed, and this is the lazy shed right here. And the upper dowel is attached to the turnbuckle with the wire. And then up on the top horizontal bar of the frame, it's attached with U-bolts. And these are the basic components of a Navajo loom.
I see.
And what I like about it, and we like about it, is it's very portable. I can pick it up, carry it from room to room.
Now this is a little heavier gauged loom, I notice. Still breaks down.
Right, we can, on something like this, we can break it down, and we have extenders for these.
So if we want to weave a tall piece, we can add an extender bar.
We can add an extender bars, and we have holes right here where we can put the, if we want it right here, if we want a little more length right in here, we can put the bolt in here. A little more length, we can put another bolt in here, so we can make it as tall as we want it, you know, based on the holes in the bar right here.
And we can get wider cross pieces, I assume, if we want to do a wider weaving as well.
If you don't want to work with the turnbuckles, or if somebody doesn't have it at the time they're setting up the loom, you can put, you can use the rope tension light as in the wooden loom setup. And what that would entail would be to put an extra dowel right here, and this is the way you attach that dowel. And you have to be careful when you put this wire in that you get a set of warp right here and put it through in between the edging cord and the dowel, and make sure you have like an inch right in between these. Drop it a little bit.
Okay.
An inch between these. Turn it. And have one right here, 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 and here, evenly spaced. If it's wider, you try to do maybe 5 inches in between the wire. And this is where the rope is going to go when you use the rope tension. It's going to go in here, go back in here, go through here, and go in the
completely
V.
eliminate the
Yes,
turnbuckles.
that would completely eliminate the turnbuckles.
Now, do you think you get a better tension when you use turnbuckles or the rope?
I'd like to use the turnbuckles because it's faster. Because if you have the rope, every time you tighten it, you have to start from this side and you go over here tightening it, and then if it's not very tight down here, you have to start all over. With the turnbuckles, you can do 2 at a time.
Right.
And then when you leave for a while, you can undo it and then tighten it again. So you get you have better control of the warp tension.
I see.
And it's faster.
But either way will work.
Yeah, either way will work.
Good.
Susanne, the beauty of using a metal frame is that it's so portable, and you can use this as a warping frame. And to do that, we have to put this over and lay it on flat. And we have to have something for support over here.
Mm-hmm.
And on this portable loom, we have holes drilled into the vertical bars every 4 inches. So right here we're going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4. So put your bolt in there. And we're going to tie the dowels on the outside of the bolt that we put in here on both sides.
So it's important to keep the dowels on the outside so they don't slip and sag in. Angie, can you show us how to determine how tall this warp will be with this particular spacing? I think I have a tape measure here.
Okay. You measure from the edge to the other edge of the dowel. It's about 18 inches.
Okay.
So when we put the warp on the dowels, and then when we put it on the take it off, put the edging cord on it, put it on the frame, it's going to add, when you stretch it, you'll have like 2 extra inches. So with this warp, we're going to have 20 inches instead of 18 inches.
Well, that's interesting.
Next, we're going to show you all the weaving tools you're going to need before starting a project. And this is a Navajo spindle right here, and I'm going to show you how to spin your edging cord on the Navajo spindle. We have here different sizes of batten sticks. These are battens, but the reason why we have different sizes is you decrease in size as you go towards the top of your rug. And this is wooden needles with holes at the end with strings tied to them. And then these are weaving forks right here. And we have 3 sizes, one large, medium, and small. We have this one right here, so you can put it on your neck, around your neck, so you don't lose it when you're weaving. And then we have some long metal needles. These come from umbrella ribs. These are umbrella ribs. And then you have different sizes also, 2 large and 3 smaller needles. And they have holes at the end just like needles, and you put your nylon string through them. And then we have the edging cord that's already made right here. You need that. And then we have all the wool right here that we're going to be working with, the different colors, and they should all be uniform in size. And Susanne, why don't you tell them about...
And your warp.
And my warp right here. And this is mohair warp. And Susanne, why don't you tell them about the hardware items?
Okay, well, most of these things can be found at your local hardware store. These are called sacking needles, and you sort of have to look around for these, but you can find them in various sizes. These are the turnbuckles that we like to use with the hook on one end. You need bolts. We had these made. You can use the U-bolts rather than this that you can get at the hardware store. We have curved needles. This curved needle is quite important. 3 sizes of dowels. As you continue weaving, you'll decrease to an even smaller size than this if you choose to. This is available at the hardware store. It's a nylon twine. If possible, if you can find something fine like this, it's really a better type of twine. This is a little harder to find, but this is a good twine. This is postal twine, cotton twine that Angie uses to lace the warp to the dowel. Baling wire, a fine sandpaper to sand the dowels so that they're quite smooth before you begin. Some very sharp cutters, wire cutters, a good pair of pliers, scissors, a little marking pen, and larger dowels that we use to when we warp up the twine up the warp. And of course, tape measure. It doesn't hurt to have some rubber bands around.
When you're ready to put on your heddle sticks on the loom, sand them down with a really fine sandpaper. And check to see that they're smooth. If there's any rough spots, smooth them out. I'm turning the sticks around, round and round, so I get all the sides. This feels good. I'm going to be carding wool for the edging cord. You'll get a feel for how much to put on the cards when you start doing it. But it's just a little... You turn it, and when you combed it out on top, you turn it so that you have all the way through it's combed. You don't have balls rolling around in there. And this is one way of taking all the stickers out too. They'll fall out, and a way of cleaning that out. And then when you're finished, you go like this, and you keep doing it until all of it is out. And then when you're done, you just roll it over there. Because you can't tie this on, and this is a personal piece of tool, I'm going to give you the traditional way. And you need to think about the size. You have to have all the your weaving weft ready before you start this, because when you spin your edging cord, you want either the same size as your weft strings, weft yarn, or a size bigger. If it's too small, then it's going to give you problems. So it affects the spacing of your warp string. And you need to put enough twist in here that it doesn't pull apart. And I would say, I'll show you right here how much twist. This is not enough. This is about enough. There's a lot of twist in there. And when I first started learning this, and my mom told me, if there's sections of areas where it's not twisted enough, that part's going to give you problems. It's going to fall up, it's going to pull apart. So what I did was I counted like an arm length or wherever I wanted to stop and put the twist on here. I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That's about 23 twists, and that's what with my hand going like this, and that's the amount of twist that I want. So when I did that a section like that, I counted all the time. But as you get experience in this, you don't even have to count. You just get a feel for how much twist you have in there. You can spin your edging cord from yarn that's already processed and you buy from the store. You start spinning it in the direction the twist is, and just do it the way I demonstrated before. Make sure that there's the right amount of twist in there for every arm stretch. And make sure you have enough. I would, if I were doing this, I would do the whole ball and just have a whole bunch of brown edging cord. And I do make them in yellows and oranges and browns. I mix 2 colors sometimes, to give it an extra touch. The edging cords on the sides of the rug or the selvage cord, you can use edging cord and selvage cords interchangeably, and making this into a butterfly right here. And a long time ago, most of the rugs were for putting on the floors, and they did the edging cord so the edges won't wear. And a lot of the tapestry rugs, they don't do the selvage or the edging cord. When I take it off, you can let this go. It went around a figure 8 around my thumb and the rest of my fingers. You take this off and put this one finger in the middle so that they're separated. And you want to hold on to this, because if you drop it, it's going to twist on you like this, and it's going to take some time to undo the twist on it. And then you put tie these 2 over here to the spindle. Okay, this is your first stretch here, and make sure that the tension is correct on both sides, and it feels the same. And then you pinch it right here so that you don't let it back out. And then first we spun it this way. Now with the two yarns together, we spin it in the opposite direction. And when you do this, the twist is not as much as the first spin. Okay. The opposite way from the first time you did it. Next section. And I have my hand in here, so I'm not letting the twist go, and I'm pulling on it at the same time. Okay, that's where that feels right. You let this go, and then you start spinning again. Remember, I have my finger in here, over here. That feels about right. The more you do it, the more you get to, you don't even have to count. You just get a feel for how much, if you have the right amount of twist in there. Take it off the spindle and put it into a little skein, and then you wet it. Make sure it's wet all the way through, because if you don't do it, you have that twist. And the way I do it is just from the spindle, and then take this off, and I would have water, a pan of water, and I'm holding the both ends in here. And I dip it in water and make it wet. And then the way to dry it is not just do it like this. I would take 2 poles on and string it around the 2 poles. And when you take it off, and when you take it off, it won't get back into a twist like this. So by the time this is dry, you go back and get busy with your warping, and by the time you get done with the warping, it should be dry, and then you put it into a ball, and then you're ready to do the edging cord. You have to decide what size rug you want. We set this up at 18 inches. And it's going to stretch 2 inches when you string it up like that, when you stand it up. So you figure on 20, a little over maybe 20 or 20 and a half inches on this one. And you don't want to use a dowel that's too flimsy, or else when you start stringing the and putting tension on your dowel right here, it's going to sink in like this. It's going to curl on you. And you don't want that, so you want one that's sturdy and strong. And I'm going to step inside this setup right here, because if I sit out here, my arms aren't long enough to do this side. So you situate yourself. We tie the dowels to the loom right here, so you don't want this moving around. In case you need to remove yourself and get up, this is always tied down. You don't ever want it moving, especially if you have kids or a dog around. You don't want them bumping into this thing, and even if you drop it, for some reason, if you drop it, you know, you can always pick it back up and then put it back on whatever you have your frame on. And that's why we want it tied down. And when you sit down to warp, you don't want to take a break at any time during your warping, because you want the tension throughout your warping the whole rug. There are natural breaks in there. That's when you can take breaks, and I'll say this is break time. Okay, make yourself comfortable. And I usually start from this side, and I tie a knot right here. Okay, and you do a figure 8, over, under, around. Pick up the other side, over, around, under, over, around, and under. Okay, and you learn how to see. When I hold this part right here, I have one hand free, my left hand free. You pick the yarn, the warp string up with this side, drop it, and then you space it. And then when I have the right tension, I let this one go. So this hand is free. And you pick it up with this one. Spacing it maybe like 1/4 of an inch apart. Wiggle it over, space it. Tension is right, let go. Pick it up, over, around, under. Wiggle the warp string over, space it, check the tension, let go. So there's never a time that your both hands are free. Wiggle it over. Don't get bent out of shape on the spacing right here, just so you're consistent all the way through. So it's very important that you pay attention to your tension. Every once in a while, go like this. Make sure that your figure 8 is there, where they crisscross. And when you get up, go like this, or just look across it. If you happen to miss a figure 8, it'll be hanging right here on the top. It'll be going right straight across. So every once in a while, just do this. And you can check your tension like this too. It feels like the tension is all the same. And in one sitting and one day, I just set aside one day to do my warping. And I may do like 10 in one day, so that I have that stored away. And whenever I need it, then I take it out. And you'll get the feel for it once you start doing it. That you maintain that tension, that pull right here, and then your other hand is free. This is where I use my granddaughter. She sits over there so she can roll the ball back. And if you don't have a granddaughter, put a pillow or a blanket right there. Anybody to help you, so that the warp string doesn't roll away from you. If you find a bad spot in your warp string, like a big knot, or where an area where it's about to break, and those things do happen, you just break that off and tie the two ends right here. Let's say this was a bad spot. Tie. I'm keeping my tension over here. A square knot. Okay, so I fix my bad spot, and then you can after your weaving gets up to here, you can hide this with the weave. But if it really bothers you and there's it stands out, this stands out on your weaving, you can undo this and work this back into both sides of the rug. So that's how you fix a bad spot. I think we'll do 65 turns. One turn will give you two strings of warp when you stand it up like that, when you put it on the loom. And you want to finish up, when you finish with your warping, you want to finish up the same side you started your tie, the same side you started out with. If you do this side, you're going to get an uneven number of warp strings on your warp. You want even numbers. I have 65 turns right here on the side that doesn't have the tie. So I break it off right here, and then you just tie it to itself, and I'm done with this one. And remove yourself from this spot. This is a natural break time. Now that the edging cord is dry, I took it off the post, and I'm going to show you how to make it into a ball so you can do your lacing onto putting the edging cord on. So I started here with the ends, and I'm working towards the center. I want to find my center on this whole length of the edging cord. Okay, here it is. When I find it and I put in a knot right here, pull it, and this is where you're going to put in the on the warp. This is where you're going to start, and the two sides of the edging cord, you're going to put it around the four fingers really loosely. And the last 12 inches or so, you put it the other way around and just slip it back under right in here. And you do the same with the other side. And turn it around and tie it in the center right here. Slip it under one of the turns, and you're ready to apply the edging cord to the warp. I'm going to start with this end. And does everybody have a good view here? You put this under here. Make sure that the knot is right here. Okay. You're holding these two in different hands. Okay. So with this hand, I go under and out. When I do that, I switch. The one that I had in my hand, I put over here. You pull this one in, and this is where your tension is very important again. If you're going to be loose all the way across. If you're going to be tight, but not too tight, you don't want to make it tight like this, so it's so close together. You just want that little pull right here, so that you bring this up to the next to the other one without pulling too tight. Switch, pull over, pick up one string, switch, pull, one string, switch, pull. One string, switch, pull. And you don't want to loosen up with one side and be tight on one side. The tension is very important here, even though it's not tight. If the working space right here is too narrow in here, I can slide this way on the dowel, being careful not to flip one over another. And then you have that, create that working space right in here. Okay, scissors. You want to try to match this one over here with the account for the knot, so make it a little bit longer than this side. Cut. And then you just go and tie this one just like you did that other side. Put a knot right here at the end where you just got done cutting so that it doesn't unravel. Okay, we're done on this side. For the other side, tie the knot again at the ends, match the tassel length and then tie it right there. Okay, we're ready to start this side. I would try to match it up with where I am right here. Okay. Give me some working space right here. If you miss one, you won't be able to tie it to your dowels and you have to undo the whole thing. In case you end up with your edging cord too thin, you may want to put 2 twists in there to create that space. See how the spacing is with 2 twists? See how this is nicely sliding out from here? Mm-hmm. It doesn't get tangled up. Cut. And then you just go and tie this one just like you did that other side. Let's have the measuring tape here.
Be right on.
Would you do the honors, Susanne?
I know you're going to be right on. I don't know why I'm doing this, but the rest of us, you are 12 1/4.
12 1/4. We're going to take the warping off this frame right here. We're finished warping, we put the edging cord on, and we're going to take it off either for storage or we might be, doing another one. But find a partner, because we're going to take these, push these 2 together so that we tie both ends together. From here on, you don't ever want to untie this. That's if you let go of this edging cord and it starts twisting on you, one might jump in here and it's going to all be messed up. It's going to be all twisted, and it's really hard to undo that. You might as well just abandon the whole warp and then start all over again. Okay, let's undo this section. Right here, take this off. And then we're set. This is a natural break time. Here we're going to put our finish warping to the dowels right here. So the first thing you do is find your center on the two dowels that you have, which is, I have it at, I think it was 12.5. Okay, it's right here. Put a mark right there. Okay. Now, and then you want maybe about 20, this is about 20, right? About 20, maybe about 2 feet. Cut 4 cotton twine. And this is the part you wet. You wet it all the way through, because when you're wrapping it around the ends of the warping, you don't want it slipping. Okay, now this is really important right here. When you undo the warping right here, you don't want to ever let go of the two ends. If you let go, it's going to twist around and go through one of the warps, and it's really hard to undo. So right here, you're going to stretch it and see, eyeball it and kind of center it. So I think that's my center right here with the stretched warping with the edging cord. Okay, when you're by yourself, you're going to put this end in your hand, in your mouth. Don't let this go.
You start out on the inside of the knot, and then you're wrapping on the outside of the knot. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Being careful not to let go. You this one out here and put it along the dowel. Stretch it a little bit. It's tight enough that you don't break the string, but you don't want it too loose because it's going to pull in on you. Double, double, okay. And then you tighten it and it won't undo. And then you can put another knot on top. Okay, and this is what you do on both sides. Okay, and match it to match the dowels and match the knot, the first knot right here, and that's where you tie it. Okay, and then do the same here with matching the knot over here on the dowel. Match that one and stretch this end to match the knot on this dowel over here. And make sure it's straight. It doesn't have a twist on it. This doesn't. And that's where you tie it. Okay, now you're ready to lace this thing on. See, I put a little tail right here so that you can put this one on, tie it on to here, tie it on. Okay, and then you find your first set. If you want to stretch it a little bit and find that first one. For the first 2 or 3 turns, I'm going to just do half a set. Half a set means 1 turn. A set is four vertical strings. That's the way we count our strings. So the first 3 or 4, just half a set. And you make sure that it's the same turn that it's on. So you pull one side, the other one just slips through. You don't want to put it in the middle, so when you string it up and you put tension on it, it won't stretch with it. You have it tied down. So you have half a set. The first three or 4 sets, you want to go in half a set. Yes, and then I start with a set.
Oh, really? You don't stay, you don't do
You don't do
half set all the way across?
And this is tight also. And don't get it so tight that you break the string. And here again, you have to be consistent on your tightness, putting it on the dowels, both dowels. Because if you get loose at a section, when you put it up like that in a vertical position, this whole thing is going to gap in between the dowel and the edging cord. And you can make it all the way through. If there's a lot of space in between the warp strings, you might want to just do half sets all the way through. Like I said, if you don't have this tight enough all the way through, you're going to have a huge separation between the dowel and the edging cord when you put it up vertically and put tension on it, and you tighten the warp strings. Doing it right here on your lap and your knee helps you hold the dowel in place, and it helps you with your tension. Okay. And the last 4 is going to be half sets. Okay, see, make sure this is on the outside. This is the last half set that you have. Pull it out this way and go around in there. The edge is tricky a little bit, so you need to really make sure that that half set goes, that's the turn that you want to go on. So you just cut this. And then you're done with that one. Just go make several turns. And then I'm going to use this one. See the tail that we left behind? I'm going to use that one to tie on to this end. Okay, I'm done with that side. Turn it around and you do the same with this side. Tie it on. Okay. And then you find your first set if you want to stretch it a little bit and find that first one, make sure it's the turn, the same one that it goes with. It's going to look different over here than over here because you have an extra one over here. So just work with what's down here, and you take the half set and start off over to here. And then make the same, maybe 3 or 4 half sets. Okay, so I have 4 or 5 at the edge, and then I'm going to start with full one set, which is 2 turns. It's very important that you don't go between a turn. And then I'm going to use this one. See the tail that we left behind? I'm going to use that one to tie on to this end. After we laced our warp to the dowels, the next step is to find the center on the warp. And the way I do it is put my warp over the horizontal dowel, the lower one here, and stretch it a little bit. And we're going to count in from both sides. And here I'll show you one turn of a warp is half a set. So I'm showing you right here that this is a half a set. If you pick up one side and stretch it, it'll slide back and forth like this. So this is a half a set. And 2 of these half set makes a set for the way I count. So what I'm going to do is start counting here from this side, working both sides in to the center. I'm trying to find my center set right here. So what I do is I count in sets and pick up 2 turns. 1, 2, 9, 10. Keep your finger in here, that's your 10. Then start counting from the left side in sets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Go back to the other side, counting in sets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10. Back to the other side. 1, 2, 10. And then 1, 1, 2, 2. So I found my center, which is a half a set, but I'm going to pick up an extra one and put my mark right here. This is my center here, and this is where my my wire is going to go between the dowel and the edging cord. And then this is a natural break time, and to store it, you just roll it up. The next thing we're going to do is attach the the warp to the horizontal bar. We will do the lower bar first. And first thing you do is we pre-cut some wire. They're 12 inches long.
Okay.
And we already have our mark on the center warp. So you take the center warp, the center set, and pull it up so that you have room in there between the dowel and the edging cord to put your wire in. And you have to be very careful here, because if you cut one of the edging cord, that's it. You don't want to use that. You have to abandon that project and start all over again. So we have the wire in between the edging cord and the dowel. And prior to this, we found our center on the horizontal dowel right here. And what we're going to do is attach it on to the lower horizontal bar on our frame and twist it back here and tighten it with the pliers. If you'll help me right there. At the edge, you put the wire on the outside or right over the knot. Okay. On this side, the same thing.
So the center one goes underneath the edging cord, and the outside go over
The edging cord. You always have one in the center and two on the edges. And then if this is wide, if you're making a wide rug, you'll have maybe one more in here or two more in here. I would say every 9 inches or 8 inches.
Okay.
Okay, we're done putting the bottom one in. Now we're going to do this, and we have the turnbuckles. We're going to attach the upper dowel to the turnbuckles right here, and we're going to attach the third one. We're going to use these clamps to put on the top horizontal bar right here and to attach the turnbuckles. We have two holes right down here to hold it together. And when you put the turnbuckle on, you want to buy the open-ended one, and this one's not open-ended. And when you put it on there, make sure that the turnbuckle is open all the way out, so that when you put tension on the rug, you have space that the warp can stretch. So we have 3 of them on. And right here, you need to be very careful too. You're going to put this wire in between the edging cord and the dowel again. So you just pick up your center here, work up this way, and here's your center. You're going to put the wire through between the edging cord, making sure you don't cut your edging cord. Put it through, and then put it through the turnbuckle, and you're going to tighten it with a pair of pliers back here.
Okay. If we don't have any of these apparatus, can we just connect the turnbuckle with baling wire up here?
You can do that. You can have baling wire here holding this top part to the top horizontal bar. And out on the edges, it's over the edging cord. You don't go between the edging cord and the dowel. It's over the edging cord. And then put this other end in here. Go through the turnbuckle. Now we're going to make sure that it's straight. And we're going to tighten the turnbuckles.
Do you find that you have to readjust the turnbuckles as you go along, that it loosens up sometimes?
It'll stretch a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to readjust. And what I'm doing is strumming the warp right here. And I can just feel how tight it is just by strumming and the way it sounds. And this is just about right. Here we have a problem because after we put up the warp vertically, we found that one of the warp strings was very loose. And what we're doing is we're going to work it in back to the edge and tighten every one of these strings by hand and work it to the end this way. So you practically need 2 people to do that real slowly. Kind of tighten that portion. We noticed that one of the warp strings was too long. You can fix that because it's a continuous warp. When we get to the end, we'll retie the knot. You see these sags right in here. It should not be like that. It should be like this where there's no sagging. So what we're going to do, and there you can correct this thing. Loosen the tension on the warp string by unscrewing the turnbuckles so that there's not enough tension pulling down the warp strings right here. And what I've done is cut off a small section of this lacing string, and what we're going to do is put it in between there and tie it up here. I go around it twice and then tie it on and then tie again. That's a single one up here. So that will corrected that one. It doesn't have any sag because I went in between the turn. Now for the next one, I go in between and tie again the same way. Next thing we're going to do is, we've already found our center on the warp right here based on the width. There's the center right here. So we're going to go from here to here and find the 4th right here. So from here to here, we'll put a mark right there.
Okay.
Should be the same on both sides of this.
So that's your quarter.
Right. Now that we've have the quarters on the dowel, we need to make sure that we have the right, the same number of warp strings within these marks.
Okay.
So we need to count again in sets.
Counting.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Those are 20 complete sets.
Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, and then one on each side. This is our center right here.
Okay.
And since we have a marker right here, I'm just going to put like 2 dots on this one to mark our center. Since we're going to use this center as the 2 centers right here, and you're going to find your center right here, just take the 2 out right here and start counting into the center in sets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 2 sets right here, and we just, boy, this is spaced just right. See,
It's
the
perfect.
dowel and the center, the fourth is right there on the mark.
Absolutely perfect.
Now that we found that, you look at it here and say, this is a little bunched up over here, so you need to move a little bit this way on this one, just so you have an even distribution of warps in here. And in here too, there's a bunching up of warps over here. So what we need to do is I usually work with a sacking needle and move these over here. Sometimes it helps to go around the bottom and actually move the edging or the lacing.
That's the lacing cord that tied the edging cord to the dowel that you're
Right.
moving.
And you just look at it. That looks pretty good.
It's better.
Okay, now we have a gap right here and a little one right here and a little bunching of the warp right here. It's very important that you do this right here, because if you don't do it, redistribute between the marks on the dowel, you're going to run into problems. You're going to have dips where you don't have enough warps, and you're going to have mounds where you have too many warps. So it's very important that you do it here before you lay in your first weft.
Now, if you had a really wide warp, you would divide it into more sections than just quarters, wouldn't you?
Right. I would go into even fourths, eighths. However, it would be easier and workable for you to distribute the warps in between. The tension should be all the same on the warp vertically up this way, and the spacing right here plays a big part in avoiding dips and mounds.
Problems later on.
We're through with the dowel down here, redistributing our warps within the sections that we marked off. We have to do the same up here. Find your center, your fourths, and then redistribute your warps in those sections.
Can you actually hear it as you strum it?
I can hear it. If I have the right amount of tension, I can hear it. If it's too loose, it's kind of a dull strum.
Right.
So now what we're going to do from here is find our center. This is going to be the true center on the vertical center. It's 27.5. So what I usually do is just fold it in half.
So this will be the middle of the weaving.
Right,
or
the middle of the weaving,
Mm-hmm.
yes. It's right here. And I usually put a mark right there. The next thing we're going to do is put the heddle sticks on. Remember back when you were doing your warping, you put a figure 8 in there, and I'm going to show you where that crisscross is right here on this warping. I'm going to put my batten stick right in the natural separation of the warp strings right on top, and you can just put the heddle stick in there. They're all separated by the edging cord. And here is your crisscross right here. Every other one goes in that way, and the other one goes back this way. And so that's your figure 8 when you created it during your warping. Okay, what I'm going to do is we're going to do this bottom part right here. I'm going through each one of the turns. I'm separating each one of the turns with the batten stick. And you can see it, and you can, when you do this, it'll separate naturally because it's all side by side, and you can work through with your batten stick like this. Okay, this is where you're going to attach your pull heddle. These are your heddle sticks. Make sure your heddle sticks are sanded down so that the warp strings won't get caught on it when it's in the warping. So what we're going to do is run this string. We're going to do the pull heddle, run a nylon string, nylon string. We use a nylon string because this is going to be on the warp string attached to every other warp string, and it's going to be on until you finish your rug. And it's I would like to use the nylon string because it doesn't wear the warp strings when you go up and down like this on your warp string. It just slides back and forth. So what I'm going to do is cut a section of it off and tie it on over here. And because this unravels easily after you tied it, I'm going to cut off right here, and what we're going to do is burn the end of the nylon string so that it doesn't unravel. See, this is not going any place. Okay, and so we have this right here, and this is putting the pull heddle on. You go in every one of these, between every one of these warp string, and you pull this out, turn and put it on and around the heddle stick. If this loop gets too long, just work it back on through it. Pull, turn, put it on. See, there's a crisscross right here, and it's not a full turn. You don't turn a full turn like this and put it on. It's just half a turn. Right here, when you pull it out, put it on the stick right here. And if you miss one, pull it out every once in a while. Make sure you didn't miss anything as you go along. If you miss one, you have to undo it back to where you missed one and then start over again from there. Pull this back out, take it off the stick, and go back to where you missed one and pick it up right there and start working from there again. You're going to have to go between every one that's on this side of the string. See, this side of the string. You're not doing anything to the ones that are back here. Every one that is on this side of the string, you want to pick up every single warp in sequence. Make sure you check it every once in a while, because if you miss it on a wide warping, you've done all that work and you have to undo it if you miss one. So check it every once in a while. Make sure you have every one of them, every single warp in sequence. Pull out half turn, put it on the heddle stick. The next one, pull out, half turn, put it on the heddle stick. You can see right here that they're almost the same length. Once you start pulling it, it will distribute, you know, the length will distribute throughout, even though if you're a little short on one because of the slipperiness of the cord, the string that I'm using. So, but when you're going along, make sure it's consistent length. No more than an inch and no less than half an inch, within that range. If you make it too long, during the weaving, it's going to hang like this. And if it's too long, it's going to be hanging down there. If it's too tight, then when you use the heddle stick, the lazy heddle, you slide it down. It's not going to separate enough to put your batten stick in there. I'm holding this from the bottom. You can see my left hand. I'm holding it from the bottom and holding this end up right here at the same time. If this loop gets too long for you to work with, then you can pull it back out this way and then tighten it, and then you're back to a shorter loop to work with. So I'm to the edge right here, and what I'm going to do is slide this through a little ways, and I'm going to cut it right here. Make sure you don't cut it too short because you're going to be tying it. I'm going to be tying it right here, maintaining the length to be consistent with the rest of the, about an inch. Here you have to be very careful because I'm going to burn this end again. Now, for the lazy heddle to go in there, you don't use the same one that we went into right in here. So you have to go up on top right here. Remember, there's a crisscross right here. That lazy heddle goes up here in this shed over here. So you go through this one over here. There's a natural separation in there, and that separation is made by your edging cord already up here. So that's where your lazy heddle goes in. You don't want to split the and go in the middle of this knotted area right here, because it goes with the one that goes down here. If you go in the middle, it's going to get stuck right here when you push this up and down. So you want to go and get this one down here and go the side it's going to go on the heddle stick. Okay, so we're ready with this one. It's all set to start weaving. Susanne and I have designed a rug for you here, and we've incorporated all the elements that we're going to be teaching in doing this project. We have incorporated the stripe here to begin with, and then we did squares here, and this is vertical and adjoining two colors, the diagonal right here going in one direction, another stripe, another diagonal starting in the other direction, another stripe, and then we go into, when you're doing your diagonals, you already know the angle that your diagonal is going to be. See, all the diagonals are going to be in the same, at the same slope. Then we get to another, we do this stripe, another stripe, and this is where we added this little motif here. It has the stepping out or the stepping in. This way you you're stepping out right here and you're stepping out right here. And if you wanted to, you can step back out this way. This diamond starts with the 2 middle warp strings, and from there on, this is one side of a diagonal and this is the other side of a diagonal, and it just happened to go up to the middle right here, and it goes back in like this. And in order to fill this space right here, we added another diamond within the diamond, and then there's too much space in here. Before we got to the middle, we add the square and another little diamond in the middle. And then when you get to the middle, you just it's a mirror image of this part. Usually beginning students will have a design that will have a mirror image on both sides.
Mm-hmm. So it's really important to establish where your middle is and be aware of that as you're weaving up, is it not?
Right. You mark on your warp string when you attach it. After you put the right tension on there, you mark your center, and then you go beyond either a 1/4 or an 1/8 of an inch, depending on how much it packs down. And we'll show you when we begin our weaving how much the weft will be packing down.
Well, the nice thing about this design is that you can mix these elements any way you want to. I think the important thing is that you learn to do the interlocking. You learn how to make a good, clean stripe. Certainly need to know the diagonals and the diamond. If you know those elements, you can do just about anything you want to.
You can mix, your project might be like this, but it may have different colors, maybe white, black, brown, all different colors. You can make them different colors. It doesn't have to be this color. The rug you do will be the colors that you like and the colors that you think go together on the rug.
Now, Angie, we're going to close this rug. We're almost to the top. We're going to close it up through here, right? So it's fairly important that we have a wide, solid stripe at the bottom and at the top so that it's a little easier to close, particularly for a beginner.
Right.
One thing that we need to think about is that if we were to start the diamond down here, you can take your batten and see what's going to happen. You're going to be off the edge of the rug when you get to the point of the diamond, assuming this is middle. So you need to be very aware of this angle and start your diamond at a point where it will reach middle within the edges of the rug. So it's always good to plan ahead, look ahead. That's something I've learned, having made lots of mistakes, that you need to plan ahead and see what's happening. Plan how your angles are going to work and that sort of thing ahead of time.
Right. And we have just an example of different colors right here that we may be able to use. The different shades of brown and the white and the green, if we need to work with that, and another brown right here. So the uniformity of the size of the weft is very important, because if one is too skinny, you're going to have a problem of dipping all the time. You're going to have dips right there where the weft size is too skinny. You would have a problem. And if one size is too thick, then you would have a lot of mounds within that area. So you want to make sure that they're all the same size. If your weft is too fat, for the spacing of the correct spacing of the warp over here, your warp string is going to show through.
I see. It's
not going to pack down and just show the weft color. Right here we have brown edging cord, and we use brown stripe to start with, and that's okay. And if you want it to contrast too, and if you wanted this to make this different color like black or white or this brown, that's okay too. Just so you bring in a color, the color of the edging cord someplace in your rug, in some design.
Now it's important for your edging cord to be the same size as the weft that you weave your rug, is it not? If you use too fat a edging cord, it's going to give you too wide a spacing?
Right. Suzanne's correct right here, and you use the same size weft string to spin your edging cord. This is the lazy heddle because you don't have to pull it to do anything with it. This is the pull heddle, and to create the lazy shed, you bring these two together and insert the batten like this. This is the angle. The angle should be up, the wide angle. The widest part of the batten stick should be up. And when these two are together like this, you create the lazy shed. And what happens is every other string is back that way and the other one is forward. So this is the lazy shed. When you're going to do the pull shed, you put this up over here, pull this down slightly and pull forward, and all the warp strings that were in the back before pull out. You pull it out with the lacing that we put on right here on this pull shed, and that creates your pull shed right in here. And this is the lazy shed. You can see the crisscrossing of the warp right here. This shed was created by the pull shed down here. This shed in here was created by the lazy shed over here, and in between you have this crisscrossing of the warp strings. My mom used to say that all the weaving tools, the weaving fork, the weaving, the batten, and all your heddle sticks and things like that, you treat it with respect, he says. She used to tell me, don't ever hit your husband or your children with these sticks. You treat them with respect. You shouldn't mistreat them, and you have to deal with them some other way. Don't use your weaving tools. I prefer to hold my weaving fork like this and weave with it like this. You don't want to poke it in here like this. This is the wrong way. This is the correct way. It's kind of like a wrist motion rather than a jabbing motion like this here. You slide it in between the warp strings.